there are several myths about watercolor, like watercolors cannot last for long, watercolors are for amateurs, watercolors are only for sketching. Watercolor is just another form of art.
Are you searching around for information about being a watercolor artist? Well, your search is over, because we have an interview today with my good friend George Politis, where he's going to talk about not just art and materials of being a watercolorist, but we actually get some super good nuggets about his answers to be a professional artist and work towards developing your craft as a watercolor. So go ahead and get out your notebooks. This is going to be so good. All right. Without any further ado, let's go ahead into this interview with George Politis. I am super excited about this interview with my good friend George Politis, a wonderful, amazing painter. And before I just tell everything about you, I'll just ask you to tell us, can you tell our viewers a little bit about you and about your watercolor process?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for asking me to be with you. You are definitely a great friend, and I'm happy to share this with you and your students. So I started watercolor when I was about 25, and now I'm 57. So there is some history behind. I started as a self-taught artist, so I started to study a lot from books and magazines, mostly from US books and magazines, US artists, magazines from England, whatever I could find to get some information, because back then internet was not so usual, if we had any internet here. So anyway, we only find information like that. And I really tried hard. I studied a lot, but by myself, no workshops at all, and a lot of personal work. So I started with pure watercolor. When I was interested in moving to the international scene, I started with miniatures. So I was painting very small, like square inch or even smaller than that. And that was easy for me back then, because my eyes were in much better condition than they are now. And it was easy to send the paintings overseas, to England, to France, to Australia, and so on. And then I started gaining some awards. That was positive feedback, and that made me want more. So I started painting more, and so on. So finally, it ended up like it is now. But as always, I think I have told you in the past, as always, I wanted to aim high. So I only aimed in the best exhibitions, although I got a lot of rejections. But I was always aiming into becoming, let's say, a member of the American Watercolor Society, the Royal Institute. I had a couple of goals that I said, okay, that's what I must achieve. That's pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I don't only paint watercolor nowadays. I paint in water media, so I use gouache, I use acrylics, I use collage, mostly on paper, but even that, not only on paper.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. One of the questions people want to know is, what do you find most rewarding about watercolor?
All right. First of all, I loved it because it is so easy to use. You can carry your paints everywhere. You can paint even at home. You don't need space, or you don't need chemicals, and so on. That is the starting point. From then on, I started loving the transparency and the fact that I could be really gestural in my first steps. But you know, watercolor is a little bit of everything. So as I learned more about it, I started to understand that it is not only about transparency. You can go very opaque, you can go very realistic, you can do whatever you want. So what I love about watercolor is that there is no limit. And this is the most rewarding thing. Other than that, I can say that personally, when I paint, I feel that I escape from everyday life. I can do whatever I want. I'm in my own universe.
I like that answer. What do you tell people when they say watercolor is the hardest medium?
No, it is not. It is not the hardest. It is not the easiest. It is just a medium that one must learn and then one must master, and so on, like any other medium. There are several myths about watercolor, like watercolors cannot last for long, watercolors are for amateurs, watercolors are only for sketching, for this, and so on. So a lot of myths. Watercolor is just another form of art.
I know you're an amazing teacher because I had the opportunity to take your workshop. What is something tip that you would give to a beginning watercolor artist?
Yeah, that's several tips. Well, it's not like inventing something new. If I say that the main tip is work, practice, and a lot. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't always follow the rules, but first learn the rules so that you are able to cross paths to start your own rules and so on. And if I go to a more specific tip, I would say don't try to copy what you see. Try to improvise, to give your own perspective, to give your own idea about what you see. So let's say, for instance, when I'm in my workshops in Santorini, which is a majestic place, and we have the best views to paint and beautiful architecture. Santorini is unique, it's a paradise on earth. So I sketch what I see with my pencil, and then I turn around. I don't see my subject anymore. I don't see the scenery anymore. I have my ideas about it. I have some colors that I have kept, and I paint the way I want. So I create my own universe, as I say. It is my moment.
That's a great answer. A mistake that you see beginning watercolors making?
I think that the most challenging thing for beginners is the use of water. It is either too much or too little. So you create problems either if it is too much, then you create puddles of water, you cannot control what you do. If it's, then it is like trying to paint egg tempera or something else. I think that the most important thing is to learn how to control the ratio between the pigment and the water and how to use that on the paper. Now that I said that, it is a very good tip. Another good tip, that I speak a lot about these things. Mix on the paper, not on the pad. Be careful with the edges. All that is, very, very important for it.
Do I need good paint? Do I need a good brush? What are your thoughts on materials?
No question. if you want to become a plumber, you must get the right equipment. If you don't get it, you will never become good at your profession. And I have felt so many times that I was not good in watercolor in my first steps. And of course, I was not good. But I felt even worse because I did not use good paper. Perhaps the most important thing, I would not use good paints and good brushes. So at some point, I understood that you cannot say, I cannot afford buying that. The real thing is that I cannot afford not to buy that. So I must buy that in order to have some better results. And I was lucky enough very, very early in my painting, let's say, career, to find Daniel Smith watercolors. And I fell in love with them because they are just the best watercolors. And now I don't have any problem or any other needs. So many people offer me, colors to try them. And I say, what's the point? I mean, I'm so satisfied with it. I can have everything in the color range. They are super professional. I'm an Skoda brushes ambassador, and they are truly fantastic. I had the chance to find, well, I was using professional brushes as well in the past, but the Skoda is just another level. It's higher. So I'm very happy with that. As far as it goes with paper, I don't have a specific paper, but I have only 100% cotton paper. Maybe Saunders Waterford, maybe ours, maybe Bahong. I can use whatever you give me. Perhaps if it is a totally new paper, I will need, a couple of experiments to adjust, but then it's a fantastic paper. Indian handmade papers. I love everything as long as it is 100% cotton.
Like you said, a master plumber might be able to use a different tool to make something happen. But to get the job done right, you've got to invest in yourself. I have a lot of women, they have, their whole life, took care of their children, invested their love and energy into their children. Now their children are out of the house. Some women have helped their husbands, through college and then help them get a job. And now they're in my class and I go, now it's time for you to invest in you and get good quality materials. And so I agree with you. Since you're wearing the Daniel Smith apron, could you share your story on how you became a brand ambassador with Daniel Smith?
First of all, as I told you, I'm using Daniel Smith colors before 2000. So it's a long story. And I was probably one of the very, very few people in Europe, not only in Greece, and probably from Daniel Smith back then, not only colors, but paper, everything. I still have so many things from them. And the colors, although I have switched, I have changed some colors. I have the original tubes over 20 years ago, and I can still use the colors. They are such top quality colors. I just cannot say enough about them. So I met them, cannot remember where, once. John Gogley, Catherine Taylor, and so I told them how much I loved their colors, and I showed them how I used them even from the past, and one thing brought the other. I cannot remember exactly how it went, but it was a real friendship, because they are such amazing people that they care for the artist. It's not that they are the people who want to sell and then keep some distance. They care about the artist. I feel Smith, we are a big family, like we are now, like brothers, like family. It's great to be like that. And I have only found this with with Daniel Smith. It's amazing.
Now, there's some people out there, they're a little bit more than a beginner artist. They're intermediate and they're thinking about a career in art. I know you're an amazing businessman. You've owned a business before Watercolor. What would you say to someone that wants to do a career in watercolor?
Well, the truth is that there are so many watercolor painters or artists, not only watercolor painters, that painting is a tough thing. So making a living from painting is not always an easy path. It's not always something that is achievable by everybody. But if somebody really wants to do something, I'm sure that if time and practice are invested in the right way, the result will come. So it is like everything when you aim high and you want something really a lot and you work, you don't just say, I want to do it and then be lazy and expect the heaven to open and, success to reign where you are. It's not possible. We have to work hard. And the road passes from many disappointments, many rejections, many problems, many times that we question and say, am I good? Will I manage? Why can't I achieve what I want? And I will not lie, it's a lot. Still, it is a lot of times like that, where you question yourself. I question myself. And I say, now what? Am I stalled? Can I go a step further? Can I do something more? And so on. But it is practice, work, positive attitude, patience. You have to be patient, and the result will come.
I like to back up a little bit. You talked about how you entered competitions. So how would an artist know when they're ready to enter a competition?
They are not. I am not. You are not. Nobody is ready to answer that. But if you don't try, you don't know. So it is important to try. And then, of course, let's say if we start, we don't start from the top level competitions, but we can start locally. We can start with some local juried shows, and then we learn. I went to London, I went to France to see watercolor exhibitions in my first steps, because I did not want to rely only on what I saw in the books. I wanted to see the real thing. So I traveled. I invested a lot of money and time to understand watercolor. And so it is a lot of small steps that one has to take. Patience, work, and learn what is done from others, how people work with watercolor, what are the fresh ideas, and so on. Don't copy. Don't try to copy. Learn from others. Use some ideas, but do your own thing.
I like how you said, getting out to travel. Can you expound on that? How did traveling to see other art make an impact?
Every time you visit an exhibition or a museum, or when I was invited, let's say, to symposiums in Canada, in England, and I had time with other artists. We worked together. I spoke to them. I understood how they think. They understood from me. Especially my trips to China, where I was invited to give some workshops. They were mind-blowing. I was supposed to teach, but I felt that I learned more than I taught because of their mentality, because these artists in China are so humble, so true, true. This is the real thing, because they express their feelings without second thoughts. And, you know, I learned so much. So every time I visit another country or meet with other artists, I exchange ideas, I learn. So it is always a learning process.
You were born and raised in Greece. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
So being a person from Greece, what is the art scene like versus the United States? Is there a difference?
It's like black and white. It's totally different. No, I mean, we do have our own art scene, but first of all, in Greece, it is mostly abstract art that is expected. In the art colleges, in the universities, it is mostly abstract art that it is taught. Realistic art is not so well perceived, or people do think that, well, it is not, you know, it is the easy thing they think, because they say, okay, you can take a photo, so what is the point of doing something realistic? On the other hand, especially when it comes to watercolor, I think that USA is mostly to the realistic or the photorealistic end. In order to enter one of the major shows, your chances are better and better if your painting is realistic. Of course, you have the whole thing, I mean, from abstract to realistic, but the ratio realistic to abstract is like 70 to 30 or 80 to 20. So this is one thing. And of course, when it comes to money involved, there is a lot more money in USA, so you get a lot more, you get paid better in USA for your art than in Greece. So I should stay with that. And if I speak about watercolor, then it was, I think, almost non-existent some years ago. So I started working very hard to promote watercolor in my country. And I started this watercolor biennial in 2012. And we will soon have the 6th edition, and we are gathering the best of the best watercolor painters from all over the world, and the best from the best from USA. You know, just someone just has to visit the website to see what kind of level this has become. So we are starting to show to the Greek people what is really a good watercolor paint.
What inspires you when it comes to watercolor painting?
So many things, but most of all, I think that I love texture and I love old things. So I love to find rusty metals, old doors, stone, things like that. Other than that, I love the landscape in the islands. So this is why I have my workshops in Santorini or Paros. I love the contrast of blue and white and things like that. But, you know, I think that more than that, it is a good composition. If I see something well composed outside and it attracts my eye, then I see a potential painting. I sketch, I take a photo, and then I create my own idea about that. I don't copy that. In my workshop, several times I show the photos. Perhaps I did in our workshop. I don't remember if I did. But I show the real photo, and then I show how I interpret this photo in my painting. So it is usually totally different. But the main idea is both in the photo and the painting. Other than that, I invent a lot of things. I improvise and so on.
What kind of art do you create? Is it realism?
So it is realism, but as I focus into things very often, I try to reveal some abstract qualities of the subject as well. But yes, it is truly realism. In some cases, I have some paintings that I could show you in here that they are so zoomed into the object that you cannot really understand what exactly it is. Because I zoom in the textures, I paint so much detail, colors, contrasts, and so on. You cannot understand what this was as a subject. It has abstract qualities. In reality, in truth, it is realistic. Like if you take a photo, let's say, of a stone when you are outside. If you take a close-up photo, one will not understand if it is a stone or if it is a landscape, because everything is lost if you use a macro and a zoomed version of something.
I like hearing that. I enjoyed watching you and Anderson when we walked around the field of Bologna, Italy, and you guys were taking pictures of possible ideas of things to paint. And I also was watching Johnny taking pictures of things that he would paint. And I think sometimes when there's an artist that's new, they're not sure if they're doing art for themselves or to make money. Is there a difference?
There is a huge difference, because if you try to make art to make money, you will not make art. So the starting point is make art for yourself. Try to be happy with what you do, and if you are happy, you are going to transmit this information to the others, this feeling to the others. If it is fake, it is fake, and everybody will feel it is fake.
Some people aren't in touch with their feelings, but I feel sometimes watercolor will maybe force you to create artwork that has feeling. What do you think about this?
Artwork that has feeling, you said. Artwork should have or evoke or transmit feelings. So even when I paint, let's say, my rusty materials, which are almost rubbish, I don't feel I'm painting rubbish or thrown away rusty materials. I feel like portraying rust. And I feel like trying to look into the history of this machine, of this piece of metal. And like an old person has his or her own beauty, and you can see behind the old face the inner beauty. This is what I'm trying to find in rust and in textures and things like that. So this is not copying it. I'm trying to make it look beautiful, to look, shiny, to look luminous. That's it. So I'm trying to create something that evokes a feeling to me, first of all, and hopefully to the viewers as well.
Do you feel there are things that not necessarily inspire you, but things that are going on in the world that influence you?
Many times. So lately, 4 years ago, I started a series of paintings on the immigrants, on people who were refugees, and that series went to the Jewish people in World War II, and I painted the whole series about them as well. Yes, I think that I'm trying to be listening to what is going on, or viewing what is going on around me, and I'm trying to be responsive to that. So there is a series of my paintings that have to do with contemporary issues and mostly with the pain of people, which is something that as we are artists, we cannot neglect it. We cannot just pretend it is not there. It is there, and we have to be responding to all those pieces of info that come to our eyes and ears.
Why is that important to you?
Because I feel I have to do it. I feel I must, as I would feel that I would have to support a person that is requiring some help next to me. When I see somebody hitting someone, let's say, I would go to offer help. When I see people like that, well, they are away from me. I don't have them next to me, but this is my way to help in my mind. My way to help is just to show that there is a problem. I'm not able to give a solution, but I'm able to speak up and say, okay, there is a problem there. Because Holocaust was so serious, I mean, and Holocaust is still, well, not with Jews and Nazis, but we still have similar situations all over the world. Refugees going from their houses, going away from their countries because of wars in their countries. It's so similar, and the worst thing is that history repeats.
That was really good. I really like you shared your passion. Now about the art supplies, how does like color and paint, how does that influence you?
I like to experiment with colors, with combinations of colors, because I'm trying to find new ways to express myself. And I'm responsive to things that I see. Especially with Daniel Smith, it is everlasting. I mean, every day I find something new, a new combination. I follow John Cogley presenting some new ideas. I find some colors that I have never used, and I'm trying to use them, and so on. So it's a journey. And we had a very, very important Greek poet, Cavafy, who said it is not the target. Well, it was Ithaca, the island where he wanted to go. And he said, it is not Ithaca that you should try to find. It is the journey. Be happy with the journey. Be happy when you experiment and you learn. Don't try for the result. Even in my workshops, I say, don't be afraid to try. Don't expect a finished painting from the first moment. Try to learn, to experiment, because all this information will settle, and then you will find your way to become better and better with all this experience that is gained.
Are there colors that you tend to use more, like permatext, granulation, or colors that are staining? Is there a type of family of color that you like to use more than others?
The permatext, definitely. So these are in the first range of colors that I use, because I use them for texture. And there are some, other than that, staining colors not so much, transparent colors a lot. So I have some colors that almost never are absent from my paintings, like quinacridones, quinacridone gold. Not too many yellows, but sometimes nude gaboso. But quinacridone is almost always there. Burnt sienna, probably always there. And the Mayan series of colors, Mayan red, Mayan orange, Mayan yellow, very often. And then moonglow. Moonglow is a must in my paintings. Bloodstone, hematite, really colors that I love. Quinacridone, burnt orange. That's a fantastic color that I use for my rust. Piemontite, I cannot go without it. So many colors. You see, it's if I start, they come, Cascade Green is one of my favorites, Shadow Violet, Imperial Purple, so many colors. But you see, the more I speak about them, you will see that I speak about primitive colors and some transparent colors that mostly give life even to shadows, like cerulean, like Imperial Purple, like quinacridone. I use them even in the shadows and they give life to the shadows. So this is what I seek, to have a variety of colors in every shape, and that life comes from beyond, from the inner part, like glowing.
I agree. You know, the contrast of having synthetic colors with the permatex that are like, the real, minerals. They just make this beautiful thing. And I love the thing that you do. You mix right on the paper. You put a layer of color down, then that next color right there. And especially your buildings are a beautiful city. The way you make the glow of the building. I love the way you can make the shadow on a painting on a side of a building that doesn't look dull and dead. And so you really know your colors.
Thank you very much. It is experimentation, but it is also the colors. So I have to say once again, it is Daniel Smith colors that gave me the opportunity to paint like that. Probably it would be with other colors as well, but I don't think that you can go dull with Daniel Smith colors, even if you try. I mean, you have your students that I guess they know about Daniel Smith, so I'm not telling something new. It is very, very difficult to go muddy. You have to try perhaps, and even then it is difficult to go muddy with Daniel Smith colors. But then, yes, it is mixing on the paper. It is understanding how much water you must use, when you must use some more water, or when you must remove water from your brush to continue. It is an everlasting journey. Every day you learn from your mistakes, from the best moments. It is positive and negative lessons that we always get.
And George, I think you're the best person for this question. Have you ever made a bad painting?
Ever, very often. What are you talking about? I must confess that even now, when I try to paint something for a big exhibition, for a, like, I don't know, Royal Institute that I have to submit paintings this month, I start with a painting. If I don't like it, I start a second one. Many artists would say that the first one was, good. But if I'm not really satisfied with the painting, if I don't think that it is at the level of a top exhibition, then I say it is not good. So it is just set aside and I'm starting again, because I learned. I may have lost, let's say, 1 week or even more the way I paint on one painting, but I don't see it like that. I invested 1 week time to learn more so that the next painting will be better, and perhaps a third painting. And when I'm satisfied with something, then I submit. If I'm not, I don't submit. So do I have unsuccessful paintings? Yes. Still, yes, a lot.
That I knew you'd be just completely genuine with that answer and that question. Thank you so much. What do you see happening with current trends?
Well, it depends. If we speak about Greece, I told you it is going more and more abstract. If we speak about England, it is going more and more photorealistic. If we speak about the whole world, I think we are going more and more in the direction of mixed water media instead of pure watercolor. We are trying to find new ways of expression. We tend to use canvas and watercolor medium to paint on canvas and on wood and on, just name it, whatever, metal, plastic. So we are trying to find new ways, and it is not good. It is not bad, sorry, it is a good thing. It is a very good thing, because if we had Turner or Homer, I'm sure they would try with all the new material to invent new things as well. So I'm not a purist. I like to use acrylic inks, gouache. Daniel Smith have introduced a beautiful series of gouache, and I'm even painting on top of old paintings with gouache. I'm altering some old paintings with my gouache now. So I'm experimenting, and I feel that the whole world is shifting right now and using more and more things that are beyond the pure techniques. But on the other hand, there are pure watercolor societies. There are artists that would never even think about painting other than pure watercolor. I had some interesting, let's say, conversations in Fabriano with a couple of very, very good artists I will not name, because we had some kind of, not conflict, but I said that I love using other material like gouache, like acrylics, and they told me, but this is not watercolor anymore. They said, why? Why do you say that? It is watercolor. Then if it's not watercolor, why does American Watercolor Society accept it, National Watercolor Society, Royal Institute, Royal Watercolor Society? Why do they all accept all that as well? And he said, well, no, it is not watercolor, it's something else. If you go away from watercolor, you just try the easy way. You must go the difficult way. But I said, why? It's the result that matters. It's not the medium. People hunt it with, bows, but now they hunt or, go to the war with other weapons. Should we stay with knives and bows? I don't know.
I love that analogy. That is so good, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna pass up my dinner without my staff and bow when there's a shotgun right there I can use. I know the answer, but this hasn't been in an interview. I've done a few interviews now, and one question we haven't talked about is masking fluid. Do you use it? Do you not use it? When do you use it? When do you not use it?
In my own paintings, I almost never use it. So I don't like masking fluid. I prefer to paint around things, even if it is tiny details, small details, I like to paint around. Or perhaps instead of using that, if I feel the necessity later, I can use some white acrylic. But normally I like to paint around without using masking fluid. But when it comes to demos and paintings that must finish in a very, very short time, or when it comes to directions that you must give to people who paint, who are mostly used to using masking fluid, they would find extremely difficult what I do, that I paint fast, really fast. I turn the paper all the time. I try not to have any spot with hard edges, but this requires really fast painting. And really, like a basketball player, you must look all around and understand what is going on, who is playing, who is at risk, and organize everything. And this is not easy for a person who is trying to learn watercolor. So in that case, I use masking fluid. But no, for me, I don't use it.
I think that's a really good point there. People using masking fluid in a time constraint of being a demo artist. And in a day and age where now with social media and people wanting to be in front of other people to perform, you know, how is it different to do a demo painting versus a painting in your studio?
Well, a demo painting, first of all, would last a few hours, if even you have few hours. 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. That's the maximum you can have. In my real paintings, it is like 7 days, 8 days, 2 weeks, something like that. It's not comparable. I go with very, very small steps when I paint for myself, for my, exhibition paintings. And I paint in transparent layers, a lot of layers. Then I set the painting aside. I look at it. I don't look at it. I try to think. When I look, I try to think. When I don't look at it, I'm trying to get ideas. And I'm going back to the painting with fresh ideas. I continue. So it is, I am telling several times, 4 times thinking, 1 time painting. It's a whole thing. But I think I have told you that I was a chess player, also a chess trainer. So I use a lot of strategy in my whole life, in my painting, in everything. So I'm trying to think ahead. What do I have to do right? What is the strategy in order to achieve, the center of interest there? How do I manage to make the viewer look there? What kind of lines should I invent to make the viewer look there, where I want him or her to see that I have the center of interest? Because in reality, you don't have all these information that drives the eye where you want. You must invent things. So this is strategy. And this doesn't come like painting, very, very fast and copying something you see. That's something that I also love. There are master painters like you are, master painter in what you do. I don't do it. I want to plan ahead. I want to paint slowly till the moment that I feel satisfied that I have depth, I have contrasts, I have diagonals, I have the composition I want. And many times I have finished a painting and it still stays there without signature because I say, I'm sure it needs more, but it's not the time to continue. I will see it again after 10 days and I will understand more about that.
You do great with these questions. People are gonna love this. What would you tell someone that you're a good businessman? And what would you tell someone that's thinking about a career in art? What would that take?
As we said before, a lot of practice and serious steps, small steps at the beginning, and when you gain a level, then aim for the next level. So small steps each time. Don't expect to become a master painter in 6 months or 1 year. Perhaps someone might achieve that. Someone might be able to do that. There are geniuses around, even if they don't know about that. And some people, I have seen some people in my workshops that they are so responsive that they come as amateurs and they live like, not like professionals, but the slope of their curve is something you could not imagine. So anyway, just work, just a lot of work. Be humble. Don't try to pretend you are more than what you are. Be humble. Work a lot. Don't expect too much, but be happy with what comes and invest using what you have gained up till now. Step by step, baby steps. It's more than enough.
Do you think an artist should learn things like marketing and strategy?
Well, if someone is good at it, it is not a problem. It is good. But I never thought it would be a must for an artist. If an artist is good, then everything else will come. If your art, if my art, if everybody's art is good, people will see, will understand, and they will recognize. And you don't need too much of marketing background or knowledge. On the other hand, perhaps I am missing a lot of opportunities as I didn't have this kind of background. But I feel that I have gained enough and I don't need any more because I was always true to my collectors, true to my viewers, true to everybody. So this is what they say. What you get is what you see, or what you see is what you get. So if I'm true to the viewer and to the collector, that's more than enough. People are satisfied with me, I'm satisfied with them. I don't need anything more from my life.
All right, now to the artist question is this part of the interview. What is the question I should have asked you?
I have to interview you sometime to understand a lot more about you, because up till now today we speak about me, but I know that you are a treasure, you are a fantastic person and artist, and your students and people around you are so happy and so not happy, I cannot find the word. Anyway, they are so glad to have you as a teacher.
I hope to teach as good as you, that my beginning students become masters in 5 weeks. One thing I do want to share is I had this cool experience. Johnny and I were in Fabriano, the town of Fabriano, and there was this amazing man, I believe his name is, he makes paper.
Yes. Salvatore, I think, Salvatore or something like that.
Yeah. And so we walk in and they were about to close because it started to rain. But then he said, "Oh, wait a minute. You guys know George Politis." And I said, "Oh, yes. I know him very little." He says, "Oh, come. If you know George, you're welcome." And he took care of us and he showed us how to make paper, handmade paper. And I said, "Whoa, I've met a really amazing person that there's something to be said when you surround yourself with like-minded people and you surround yourself with people that have a good reputation, and not to lift you up in praise, but to say, I was very honored to be associated with you and Daniel Smith and Escoda. And so again, thank you so much for letting me interview you. I know people are going to really enjoy this, and I'm going to put how they can get a hold of you in the comments, in the description of this video. But how else can people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, George Politis, and I have my webpage, which is George Politis altogether, georgepolitis.gr for Greece, or georgepolitis.art, A-R-T, georgepolitis.art, www.georgepolitis.art. So you can find a lot of things about me there. Other than that, if any of your friends, students have any questions, they are all welcome to send me questions about anything. I will be glad to answer. I will take the time to answer to whoever asks me whatever. You know that, so anytime.
Thank you so much, George. I really appreciate your time.
You, Gabriel. Thank you very much. Bye.
If you made it this far, that actually means that you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and smash that like button, and sharing is caring. So if you found some value and other people might want to see this, please share it. And if you want to use this for some event that George Politis, well, here's the thing. Someone messaged me the other day and they asked if they can use one of the other videos that we watched and did last week or so. And I was like, right on. Thank you so much for asking. And they're using that video, so thank you so much. So yeah, these interviews are going really well, so they're going to be coming out every Monday. We still have another 2 dozen actually, lined up for you. So you have the next 24 Mondays ahead of you to enjoy some more of these interviews. So other than that, thank you so much. You can join me here daily for the daily content and weekly content, and the Watercolor Wednesdays where I go live and do a demo painting. All right, take care and keep those paintbrushes wet. See you around. Bye.